Week 7 recap, Halloween special. So there are no trades this week. We could just jump into talking fantasy, and we're going to start with a very, very sad story. One that's been plaguing the league and definitely a surprise to many. Professor S continues to see L's all over the place, going to 1-6 now after losing to Team Livin' La Vida Yoda. Everyone in this league knows that this team is used to winning. This is a guy who's usually dominant, able to be a little bit cocky, able to run away with things, make some money. And I'm going to say, Professor S, I connect with you. And I see you and I understand you. I also have had my dominant times in the past in fantasy, and I also am struggling this year to find pay dirt. And I just want to say that in fantasy, parity, you want everyone winning. You want everyone winning so everyone's engaged. You don't want to win every year. So I consider this for both of us to be charitable donations. We are letting other people get some time in the limelight. We're letting them have some fun. We'll come back next year. We'll dominate again. But to you, I just want to say, keep your chin up. When it comes to your team, does it look like a 1-6 team? Honestly, no. But it does look like a 2-5 team. Definitely looking below average at this point. I mean, this week, 141 points. Not bad. Classic, not really bad week for you. But unfortunately, just that ceiling continues to not be high enough. You get good contributions from most of your guys. No one really doing absolutely nothing. You have some off weeks, though, with Darrell Williams and Julio Jones. There really isn't much to hate about this team. The only critique I really have is that the ceiling is lower. You don't really have the studs that other teams do. So at 1-6, it's certainly done chain time. I'll wear it with you, my friend, and we will power on until next season. For Team Livin' La Vida Yoda, it's a different story. Big win puts you at 3-4, and you continue to stay in the mix of things. I have been speaking about how much I do like this team, and I think this team can make a run despite the poor record, and I, of course, feel that now more than ever. Kamara with a big game. Patterson showing that he's clearly valuable. Jalen Hurts continuing to be a huge asset. And Hollywood Brown, 14 targets, by the way. Only 5 catches, but 14 targets. Hollywood Brown continues to be in the wide receiver 1 category. Keep in mind, this is all without Najee Harris and Adam Thielen, who will both be returning to your lineup, I would assume, unless you want to roll with AJ Green for longer, or Tim Patrick for longer, which I'd be shocked by. Next week, massive reinforcements for your team. I really do see a playoff run with this team. We will wait and see. Big win for Pain Train in the clash with the Titans. Pain Train gets a win over TBD, despite an awful start at Sam Darnold at quarterback, getting you 0.94. In your defense, I understand it, especially with his rushing touchdowns earlier in the season. And some strong fantasy performances. I see it. I understand it. I won't critique you unless you start him again, because he is looking as bad as any quarterback has in the last few weeks. But you get great contributions from DeAndre Swift. Another solid week for Henry, despite being lower than most weeks. I think I continue to talk how this team, the wide receiver situation is the only one to keep an eye on. I am wrong about many things in life, and the Bucs offense is one of them. Godwin continuing to be a huge stud. Any Buck offense has been an asset this year so far, so I am curious. You'll get Herbert back next week. That's obviously a big reinforcement. Amari Cooper back next week should be a solid reinforcement. We'll keep an ear on what's happening with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but with all those guys combined, I mean, this team remains to be top of the league. Definitely a favorite to win it all. TBD, you were 5-1, you're now 5-2. I see definitely a gap between these two teams. This wide receiver group that you had to trot out are just a bunch of names that could be on the waiver wire, and I wouldn't bat an eye. Robbie Anderson and Allen Robinson. I would say Kirk is part of that conversation, and I still would. 5 targets. I mean, no wide receiver on the Cardinals is super intriguing. Obviously, D-Hop's the top of the list, too. But Kirk made some big catches in big positions last week, so I understand the start. But yeah, this wide receiver group isn't getting you anywhere. So you'll get Keenan Allen back, you'll get Deontay Johnson back, and I'm curious to see if Rashad Bateman is a guy that you start every week. But with those reinforcements, you do enter back into the top of the league conversation, but there is a gap until Mahomes performs like Mahomes should. There is a gap between you and Pain Train from where I'm sitting. Team Crucifier, tough loss, 9-point loss to Glory Hole. Glory Hole, my favorite this year in the league. Had to go with Jameis Winston this week with Dak Prescott on bye. I'm shocked by the D'Ernest Johnson benching. In a position where he was the main running back on the best running team in the NFL, you decide to go Miles Sanders, who's been struggling all season, over him. Doesn't make any sense to me. I can't support that. That is what could have cost you the game, but you still get the win. Miles Sanders now injured. Ernest Johnson back to the backup role. So we're curious to see what we're going to do at running back there. But you do get Justin Jefferson back next week, which is obviously a massive positive. And you still continue to hold on to Hockenson and Mark Andrews. I know Hockenson did lose a lot of value so far this season, but in my eyes, he's still a trade asset. There are still going to be teams that need a tight end that are intrigued by the amount of targets he gets. I would try and get something for him if I could, because I personally do still like Hockenson. Obviously not top tight end category, but still low end tight end 1, or even maybe in like the 6-7 strongest tight end category. I like him as an option. Crucifier, a team that I also talk about how I like a lot. Wow, I guess I like a lot of teams in this league, but was much weaker this week. Running backs were Edmonds and McKissick due to Dalvin Cook being on bye. Khalil Herbert was a difficult start this week because he was playing Tampa Bay. You decided to not roll him out in favor of McKissick. That to me is pretty crazy, given you had a starting running back on a run-heavy team or a backup running back on Washington. I'm surprised you went with McKissick. I understand your reasoning there, but is that what cost you the game? Actually, I didn't even realize that. McKissick with 9.6. Yes, that is what cost you the game. This is one of those fantasies, maybe 60 to 70% luck. This is one of those skill losses, unfortunately. This is one of the ones that was a controllable loss. This was in your hands, and you made a very bold decision that unfortunately led to a loss. I am expecting to see Crucifier back in the win column next week, but goes to 4-3 for now. Sons of Chaos next gets a very easy win against a very, very banged up Team the Prophet team. Starting Rashad Stevenson, I forgot what his name is. What's his name? Ramador? Elon? Stevenson's first name?
On the Patriots running back?
Yeah. Okay, it doesn't matter.
For you in a second.
All right, I got my Googler looking stuff up. Listen to this. This guy started. I have my friend here. Ramondre. This guy started Ramondre Stevenson and Rashad Penny as his 2 starting running backs this week. Is that the worst you ever heard?
That's horrible.
That's the worst I've ever heard. Yeah, Stevenson was an inactive, so this Team the Prophet I don't think is paying attention to the league. And Rashad Penny also just came off the inactive list. Was clear that Alex Collins was a starter, and you roll him out there again, you 0.9 points. His wide receivers, McCole Hardman, Odell Beckham, and then A.J. Brown. So here's the bright spot. You had A.J. Brown. McCole Hardman I actually also started in an absolute desperation attempt. Awful decision by both of us. Odell Beckham, bad start. He was banged up, and he didn't play the full game. You do get Eckler back next week. You get Emmanuel Sanders, but this team's done. We don't need to talk much about it. Done chained already. Sons of Chaos getting the easy win. 139 points. Brady, again, I'm very wrong about the Bucs offense. Brady continues to be a stud at 34. Fournette a stud at 17. The guys I like a lot actually didn't really perform this week. Tyreek Hill only 12.7 points. Devontae Smith only 11.1 points. Tunyon with a big week. He should have another big week with all the targets out next week. And yeah, I mean, you got James Robinson back next week. You got a lot to be excited about. Sons of Chaos, expect them to make a playoff run. The final game, Team El Captain getting the loss to Chairman. Chairman going to 4-3, very big win. Was at 500. For Chairman, you have a bad performance from Darrell Henderson, so that obviously you don't expect to continue. So you got to be happy with the win. A lot of that due to Mike Evans getting 32.6 points. St. Brown only gets you 0 points. To start St. Brown, Pettis, A.J. Dillon all in 1 week, you would think there's going to be a definite loss. But Pettis getting you 15.5 points, returning value based on the banged up wide receiver corps. I got to give you credit. Being able to muster a win with some smart starts when you have Josh Allen, Zeke, Diggs, and Mike Williams all on bye, and Tony injured, incredibly impressive. This is one of those controllable wins for the Chairman. That's where skill comes in fantasy, and I absolutely love to see that. El Captain, unfortunately, got very much disappointing performances. Had to go Felton, a little bit of a desperation play there. It was pretty clear he wasn't going to be the main guy. Callaway also, a little bit of a desperation play there. Mike Davis with an absolutely atrocious week. You also got bad performances from Carolina D, who you'd expect to do better against the Giants, and Justin Tucker as well. So you really couldn't get help from anyone that was one of your iffier starts. Your top guys gave you what you expected. Lamar 23, Taylor 22, Devontae 20. You just couldn't get it from those iffy guys, and that's what cost you. So you go to 2-5, and you are outside looking in. I'm not going to done chain yet, though, because there is a lot of skill there. So, to everyone, I wish you a best of luck in Week 8. Yeah, I mean, Team the Prophet, please play guys who are playing. Play spoiler. All right, cheers.